Today we welcome Cristina Saroli. Her family-run business, the Village Wellness Spa, has deep roots in our community.
Self-care, I think now is becoming more of a priority for many people. It really is like this shift in lifestyle that encompasses like holistic health and wellness and beauty and self-care and like prioritizing oneself in order to better serve those around you.
In this episode, we explore the evolving role of self-care and how it has shifted from being a treat to becoming a priority. Let's dive in. Cristina, welcome. It's a pleasure to speak with you. We have a lot to talk about as it relates to women's self-care, the evolution of self-care, and general advice for women in business and entrepreneurs. Before we get into all of that, the story of Village Wellness Spa. This is a family-run operation that has been in business for 35 years. What was the inspiration to get into this line of business?
Yes. So my mom, she came to Canada from Colombia as a teenager, and she was an esthetician. And I think that she always had this like underlying drive to sort of have her own thing. And, you know, working with customers at the time, spas were not really as popular as they were here. We're talking late 80s. And someone kind of approached her and said, you know, I really think that you could do your own thing. And so she did. And she started it as like a 2-room spa with one like manicure station, one pedicure station, and one skincare line. And it's just over the years has really evolved into this like community staple of like a big destination day spa in the GTA.
What have been some pivotal lessons for you? Like what has really kind of shaped your understanding of running a business after watching your mom?
She really involved us from day one. And so I think that when you grow up in a business that is your family, you really feel a sense of responsibility and it becomes really like a part of your life. So, you know, we've learned like the value of hard work. It's not easy to start something from the ground. And we really fostered that like sense of community in the places where we ran and operated our businesses.
Let's shift the conversation slightly and really thinking about the evolution of the self-care journey. What has been the biggest shift that you've seen in client understanding of self-care?
Self-care, I think now is becoming more of a priority for many people. It really is like this shift in lifestyle that encompasses like holistic health and wellness and beauty and self-care. And like, I think now it's very much an understanding, especially like I'm a young mom and like young women in their like late 30s, early 40s are really using, I guess they're like really prioritizing these treatments. It's really become, there's become a rise in this that where it's not a treat, it's more of like necessary. It's become like prioritizing oneself in order to better serve those around you.
I think about the shift in longevity, all these kind of wellness terms. But I think we're also very aware today that it's a personalized journey. Like it's not a one size fits all. And how do you see this personalization of care showing up in your business?
So I think that starts with just one, knowing your customer and having a conversation with them about like what their goals are, whether it's skincare related or treatment related. And we've really tried to come up with personalized treatments that are focused on what the client really wants.
What is the process that you take people through to help them really tune into? Is it acupuncture I need? Is it this type of, like how do people know? As long as like they're feeling anxious, I'm just like anxious and unsettled. How do they know what's going to work for them?
So I think that looks different for everybody. Many people are looking for these like short sort of bursts of self-care and wellness throughout their day as like a daily integration. If you can find the one thing that is like serves you and makes you feel the best, then I think that we have done our job.
You're a busy mom running a business. As you think about self-care and just kind of stepping outside of spa services and just your daily practice, like what what is it that you need to do for you on the self-care journey?
So there's a couple things I don't compromise on. One of them is my skincare. So in the morning and especially at nighttime after my kids go to bed, I have a skincare ritual. It changes like based on how much time I have, really, but I do not compromise on that. Two is getting outside, even if it's for 5 minutes, and sometimes it's with them. I think we all feel better if we've like gotten outside, even for just a few minutes. If they are riding their bikes or, going to the park, that's my time to just like be outside.
And I think the question I'd invite listeners into, it's like, and I found this for myself, I might be, doing one thing, but if I really asked myself deeply, like, what do I need right now? Listen to that answer and giving ourselves permission to act on that desire, because I might be thinking, oh, I have to get this done for so and so. But if I actually ask the question of what do I need right now? And the answer is, you need to pause. This is the practice that I'm now trying to be a little bit more mindful of within myself.
I agree. And I think that when I feel like that, for me personally, like a face mask does a lot for me. Like just to sit in the silence for a few minutes with a face mask on is really big for me. And there is always going to be a to-do list, like, and that can really take over. There is 100 things to do all day, every day. And it's just like you said, you can't really pour from an empty cup.
Cannot. And the quest to understand when the cup is depleting and be mindful of that cup is really something I'm going to kind of challenge us all to think about. Getting kind of back into the business here, has there been anything that you guys have been innovating on as it relates to clean beauty, sustainability, mindfulness?
Yes. So we use raw ingredients and botanical extracts from the Colombian Amazon to create a full skincare and wellness line. So that includes face, body, and apothecary. So, for example, like for the face, we have phenomenal face products, but for like moving into that wellness space too, we have a lot of like essential oil roll-ons that are like for the temples and wrists before you go to sleep, with valerian root extract, and it just like allows you to unwind, and like it's just like something that you can do for yourself for just like 30 seconds before you go to bed. It's used traditionally in like ancient medicine, and we made like our whole line, like the whole skincare and like the wellness line is an extension of that. So we use a lot of like botanicals from the Amazonian rainforest that were like ancient medicine, and we use those to create a skincare line for the face and body.
That feels like such an ambitious thing to solve. And, walk me through the backstory here.
This is my mom says, I think we should do this. And then we do. And like where there's a will, there is a way, truly. So she traveled literally to the mountains of Bogota, which is like the capital of Colombia, and met with these farmers who harvest their own natural remedies that are wild there, right? So that's something that we really wanted to bring to our customer base here. It's a lot of research. You have to, and it's a lot of trial and error too. So, we work with a chemist here in Toronto, and he'll say, okay, here are your 3 prototypes so we talk about the consistency of the face oil, what we want it to look like, what we want it to feel like 15 minutes after it's applied, and all of that stuff. So it's a lot of trial and error. We give it to our friends and our family. They try it. They see what they like, what works for them.
I feel very empowered by hearing these stories. It is a process and a journey though, right? Like test, and retest.
It doesn't happen overnight. It's not something, and like we have also made many mistakes too, I think now though is like the time, like there's so much information out there, and when, listening, coming on podcasts like this and listening to things, like you really do get some valuable insight about where you can start.
Creativity builds off of execution, and we have to get the first version done before we can get the second version done. How has it been, going through all this with your family?
Listen, I think we've been very fortunate. We definitely collaborate and we work really well together, because all of the departments and all of the roles are so intertwined. At the end of the day, we are still a small team. So sometimes we do have like our hands in multiple things. But I think, like, I think also growing up in it, I don't know, it's kind of always been in our blood, I think.
Has there been any lessons learned? I think about kind of the universal themes, even if you're working inside of a company or with a close team, of conflict resolution, especially when you deeply care about the opinion of the person that you're working alongside. Any lessons learned there that we can impart?
Yes. So I think moving into any conversation, like with kindness and respect, is very important, especially when you're working with your family. You can have this familiarity that can cause you to get very emotional. And so really approaching, and sometimes I feel like even just taking a step back and taking a day to, sit with it and see how you're going to approach it is really important.
You and I were chatting before we started the recording, and you made the choice to kind of move outside of city life, and I am now on side of this journey. I've been thinking a lot about nature and what nature does for creativity, innovation, ideas. What has been your experience by having more time in nature?
I think it's made a big difference in terms of the way that you can like ease into things, and like it's just great for your overall well-being. And it also helps with like mental clarity, especially if you are sitting at a computer screen all day, or if you are, connected all day long. I think 5 minutes just walking around outside in the peace and quiet can do wonders for your mental health.
Small changes in the right direction. And, for some of us, it's going to be nature, like you. It's like really noticing that impacted you. For me, it is. It's not that way for everyone. So back to kind of the importance of the personalization along the journey. Where do you think the trends are going? Like, if you have to kind of forecast 5 years and where we're all going to go in our self-care journey, like, what do you think is going to be important for people?
I think especially after the pandemic, I feel like a lot of people really wanted to have these like small moments of wellness and self-care for them to take home with them, because like you said, not everybody has the time or the resources to visit a spa every week. And we totally understand that. But I think people are really interested in like these little self-indulgences, small things that they can do. Whether that means like buying a new lip gloss, or, doing a 5-minute meditation. And it's just like incorporating it into like your everyday. And it doesn't have to be this extravagant thing. It really doesn't. It can be something so small. And that might even just mean like a sleep mask at nighttime, like, just small things that I think.
Or going to bed earlier, right? Like turning off the TV, yes. Stopping the scroll, going to bed.
And that's very challenging, because I feel like people are more connected than ever these days, like on their digital like devices. And there's this expectation that you have to be like working, or, you have to always be connected. And it was a big thing that came up during the pandemic, since like working from home became such a big thing. Nothing is going to change drastically if I don't respond to an email at 8:00 at nighttime. They can wait until tomorrow morning. It would be very valuable for, people to kind of like take this into consideration too.
I'm with you. I'm on a mission. I have very clear ideas of, after speaking to so many fantastic women coming on the show, yourself included, there's a very clear under thread that goes through every single one of these, and sleep, and the importance of us like managing into that evening space correctly. I think it's critical for me. It's changed a lot for me. But I love what you said. It's like we have to give ourselves permission that like the world's not going to change if the email doesn't get answered at 8:30. And so like what bad habits are we just in a guilt loop on here, thinking we have to meet certain expectations for everybody, including ourselves? I hope that if anybody takes anything away from just our chat is just to settle into the peace that is inside of them and to give themselves a little bit of time, space, whether it's treatment or something in the home, otherwise a bit of time and energy for self-care. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing kind of all of your insights in the evolution of this journey for everyone to listen to.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn, where we transform the wisdom from our podcast into practical tips, tools, and takeaways for your leadership journey. Find us at grit.grace.podcast. See you next week.